wouldn't they like remove it block by block and then basically use the same blocks to rebuild?
That is my understanding.
Okay.
They will take it
Kind of
down.
similar to that
put it back
bridge
up.
that we were talking about earlier.
That's amazing what they can do.
Stone.
And that's three stories up, so
Right.
that'll be an adventure on Main Street. But one reason that we went with this part of the project first, it was tagged by the architect as possibly the most critical with the water infiltration. Another thing is that it will be highly visible, so we do want people to be up, and informed on what it takes to maintain this building. We did a fantastic fundraiser last spring. It was very fun. There's always a challenge of getting people into that building, into the Masonic Hall. So many people haven't seen it, or they saw it once 50 years ago. So, and it's the same as it was.
Still amazing. You got to find some way to get more people to go up there.
Yeah, so we held a dinner in that space, because one of the thoughts in the future is that it would be a rental area. Just to highlight the space, we had room for, I believe, 79 seats, and we had it sold out the first week, and it was just fantastic. So we raised $8,000 at that dinner. So we hope to replicate that, and all of that money then goes into maintaining that building. And then all those people got to really spend time in there and see that space.
And the work you did the last couple of years as far as access to that with the
Right.
door into the museum where you can pass through. Now you got better access through the elevator and so forth.
We don't have an elevator.
But oh no, but I mean as far as
I'd love to have an elevator.
I was thinking that was in the plan. There's a discussion that we need that. That's a key
Yes,
part.
yes.
Now you've got that access door. You'd be able to do that.
Well, and when we are able to get an elevator for the second floor access, it now would access two buildings.
Right.
In not just the
Because
one.
of that
So
common time.
yeah.
That's what I was thinking of that. Yes.
Right. Yeah, we have been incorporating that building, which was a major gift to the Historical Society. It's I think more than double our headquarters building, which is Old City Hall. And we've been, we put the access door in it to expand our gallery space. We're also moving some of our storage into that building, so we've been able to utilize the space a little bit more. But getting people in there is really
Still a
key.
challenge.
Yeah.
But it is better, much better than it was with that steep stairway on the front.
Right. So
When the front wall is complete, will that eliminate leakage in the building
on that
or just
elevation,
on that side?
that side, yeah.
So you have leakage in other areas as well?
Right. Well, and I don't believe it's been repointed for quite some time.
If ever?
If ever, particularly the south side, which takes a beating in the sun, which is brick, it's an addition. I don't believe that's been repointed ever. The side walls, the east and west, are kind of rubble walls, but they are exposed. They don't have a skim coat over them. And there's a lot of holes in there. Yeah. But one step at a time, and this grant is huge, and it's a lot to write to the state to make sure that you get all the points made. And so if for some reason it's not funded, we'll just go right back to them. We'll take their advice, adjust the project, and get that done. The state is invested in this building. They've funded several other grants for this building, which I think is a good thing. Otherwise, I did talk about we renovated the second floor. That included also carpeting in there. It's just changed the whole feel of the space, and of course the LED lighting. So we have the three new exhibits upstairs, which includes What Number Please, which is an exhibit on the telephone, and that's especially great because people have phones today. This is not something that's far in the past and you don't know what we're really talking about, but it's just the whole gamut of when phones came into use, and people do remember that. People remember party lines. Certain segment of the population remembers party lines. We've had the school kids really like this exhibit because they have a phone in their pocket, but they had no idea. And some of them are downright offended at party lines. They're like, well, that's got to be illegal. People listening to your call. So
And they don't know how to operate a dial phone?
that's part of our interactives. We have a dial, and also we have a push button, which the old kind of push button. Of course, we have the crank phone. We have the wall phone. And our sponsor on this was Woodstock Communications, and they really provided some great stuff. So they provided this wall phone, and they hooked it up to an internet phone number, so you can call it. And so one person can be on it, and you can be on your cell phone, and you can be talking. And it sounds different. It's kind of at a distance, but it's a really neat interactive. So that's another thing that a model that we're going to with our exhibits is to find exhibit sponsors to help us fund these, because we need to be having these professional exhibits. It's not exactly in our budget. We run a really tight shoestring budget. So to go out in the community and find businesses that would sponsor this exhibit has been great. So we have a number of them now. All the exhibits in that gallery are sponsored. So we have What Number Please? We have The Appeal of the Appliance, which grew out of our realization that we had a lot of appliances in the museum collection, and that's another thing. People have stoves in their house today, but they're not the same stove. So we have a couple of those out. And then also an exhibit called Homesteading. So we put our covered wagon and our claim shanty in the same space. They used to be on separate floors, and really tried to interpret the early settlement and what the Homesteading Act meant for Pipestone County in particular. And that one's fun. We have a Pack Your Wagon interactive where we couldn't get together a big scale where you actually put things in with different weights, but we just have little blocks that have the name of the object. It does have the weight also, and you're given a weight limit, and you can pick what you're going to take, because that's part of especially the talks with the kids, is that you can't take it all with you. So we've had kids that said, well, I'm going to take my Xbox. And another kid would say, well, but you don't have a TV, so where are you going to plug it in? I'll take a battery. It's just fun. It's fun. So hopefully we can renovate our first floor with new carpet throughout, removing some walls for some better use of the space. And we're moving some of our storage that has been in the museum into the Ferris Grand to help us with that space issue. And so we've kind of pushed back an exhibit we're working on, which is on local pipe carving, which I think will be fantastic, till 2024 now, so we can get this gallery finished and then secure some funding for that exhibit to come in, because we want to do it really well. So we also continue to issue our 4 newsletters annually. We're publishing booklets. We do at least one booklet a year. We're doing our small town series right now. This year we're doing a little booklet on Island. I think we've covered Cazenovia, Trotsky, Woodstock, Hatfield, and Holland. We're trying to catch everybody there, particularly towns that did not produce a centennial book, so that there is something that people can pick up on that. And then again, we have many articles on our website. I think we probably need to organize our website a little bit better, but we are trying to get information out there to the public.
I'm reading a book right now called Pipestone, and he credits the Pipestone Historical Society and Museum.
Yeah, that's about the Indian boarding school. Yes. Yeah, he came in and yeah, he used some of our pictures.
Very complimentary to you guys. So
yeah,
in his book.
It's a good book.
You mentioned the lobby then of the Arts Center, and of course the Everett Baby Grand, as everyone knows, that was just donated then to the hospital as well too, and it's on display up there, and that was very well received. So
Right.
I got a Facebook message from somebody that was in the hospital, and a construction worker was playing the piano. And it was amazing. They said, so just don't know who's going to sit down and play
no,
it.
you won't. And that was a 1958 Steinway Baby Grand. So
From New
It's a
York,
neat
right?
thing to find a place for that.
it was most recently it was in New York.
Les Everett's aunt or something?
Yeah, I think it was originally here and then moved to New York with her and then came back, if I remember Les correctly. So yes,
And it was in the the one in the lobby?
the one was in the lobby. Yep, the Everett family had donated that years. I think it was 10 years ago. They brought it back from New York, something like that. So.
Okay.
Any questions for Susan? Nope. Well, thank you.
Thank you for having me in. Always happy to come report on one of my favorite topics, so.
And we obviously will do what we can to support financially as well too, and we
Much
recognize
appreciated.
your request and we'll do what we can.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I hope you have a barn burner year next year.
I do too.
Has everybody here been up the Ferris Grand?
It's beautiful.
Yeah. It's a treasure that nobody knows about.
One of the best looking buildings in the state, frankly.
Just to have the talent of the guy come and do that in 1902 or whatever it was, you know.
I'm excited for the day when they can afford to have the murals professionally cleaned.
Clean,
restored.
yeah, I'm
Because
sure.
they will be, it'll just be like the ones
Pop.
at the Capitol,
Yeah.
that when they redid them,
Yeah.
it's like night and day. It's like the Sistine Chapel.
Yeah. Okay, we got Joyce coming at 11:30, right?
Yep.
Dallas, you wanna do your report?
Sure. First week of August was mostly fair stuff. Fair was a good fair with rain rained out the musical, but the rain insurance did pay out finally, so that was $15,000, I think, that different policies that we had discussed and we applied for, so they did pay out. August 9th was a regular meeting. August 11th, we went to canvass the votes here. And August 23, regular meeting, hospital meeting. And the 30th, regular meeting at budget. And the 31st, Plum Creek Executive Board meeting in Worthington. And it's gonna have a kickoff on September 21 at Tracy for the coming year. And I mentioned a while ago that I was contacted by a guy from Ide Bailey, and you guys understand that. I'm sure that you've probably been called to, but that was I answered the questions correctly, hopefully. The first one was, are you aware of any obvious fraud in your county? I said, absolutely not, you know. So I guess it's questions he had to ask, so
Right.
that's my report.
Thank you. Luke?
On the 10th, the ditch committee met where we approved the bulwark repairs and set the 2023 levy, which later came before the county board. On the 11th, soil and water district meeting was had, and then I went to the canvassing board, and then toured the food shelf with Dallas and Steve. And
You didn't stay to help unload the truck, though.
I did not. I got called away to
Your wife called you away, right?
go back to work.
Steve didn't stop either.
No, looked like he had plenty of help at the time. There were a lot of people, not a lot of room to work in.
Yeah,
That's amazing how much food they moved around.
Oh,
though.
yeah.
it is. On the 15th, the plan ops meeting at the hospital. On the 18th and 19th, at AMC Strategic Planning. On the 23rd, Hospital Board. On the 24th, Highway 23 Coalition. met, and the vice chair and myself are now approving bills because the chair is out with some family medical issues. On the 26th, the Avera Consultants Board was held. We got congressional and legislative updates and Avera system updates. On the 30th, of course, we had our special budget meeting and then had a union negotiation meeting later in the day. On the 31st, Highway 23 Coalition Projects Committee met. We set our for 2023 priorities. For corridors of commerce, we could only have one project per coalition or per entity, and we wanted it to be the most shovel-ready project, you know, so that we'd have a shot to maybe get it accepted. And of course, they have limited funding. I think 125 million for the whole state, or at least for outstate. And we decided to go with the extending the 4 lanes southwest of Wilmer, where you can already see where the lanes are supposed to be. They don't need to acquire any property and, or get, you know, right away. And they already have approved to put in the ramps at that intersection where you first turn into Wilmer at County 5. So that's gonna be done this coming year. So if they're gonna do the ramps, then why wouldn't you do the lanes also?
We
And
can't get enough cement.
right. So anyway, and then we picked out some other projects for either congressional or legislative directed spending. They don't like to call them earmarks. They prefer the directed spending title. So anyway, then, and since Corridors of Commerce money wouldn't pay for any studies or whatever, we want them to do a preferred route study for the Marshall to Green Valley segment that's, you know, would connect to the 4-lane passing lane past Green Valley, and also a preferred route study from Foley to Mora. For a number of years, we had talked from Foley to Malacca, but we thought if we extended it a little further, we'd get more support from, you know, a different congressional district and just more newer members in that eastern segment or whatever. And then for a J-turn at Belle Claire Drive and Highway 23 in Waite Park, which is just beyond I-94, and they've had a lot of issues there where traffic's just blasting by, and it's pretty dangerous. On September 1st, Area 2 and RCRCA met. Dredge project as of that date was about 75% complete. And we were asked again about the fuel surcharge, and we said no, because, you know, you could have contracted your fuel like everyone else. You knew 2 years ahead of time, and of course, plus fuel prices are declining at this time. And then yesterday, the MRC Executive Committee met. We were informed that Dan Larson is planning to give us his 60-day notice at tomorrow's meeting for the Minnesota Rural County Group. He's been doing this for, I think, 27 years, and just feels it's, you know, probably time for him to do less, and probably an opportunity for us to get some new leadership or whatever. And so I'm going to be working with AMC and the executive committee to find a replacement, and hope to have that person in place by our December meeting, which would coincide with the annual AMC meeting.
Did Dan Larson say what his future plans are? Does he continue to work as a lobbyist?
No, I think he's going to retire. He mentioned, you know, having some friends die recently, and he just kind of reassessed what he wanted to do with his life. And then when we met on the Zoom call yesterday, and he was in his backyard, and it was so attractive that I could kind of see why he wanted to hang out more. Yeah, it looked pretty nice. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
Just a comment, the Rural 23 Coalition, whatever, they're doing well. Like Dan said, they're gonna repave that way before 75.
Right, but I mean, I'm still working with our senators to try to get money for a full reconstruction rather than the mill and overlay, because as we've seen on these other highways, a mill and overlay is a Band-Aid fix. It's a waste of money.
It is.
And it's the most heavily traveled highway in our area. in our whole district, it has, you know, more overweight and oversized loads than any part of the state. I mean, you could definitely make a case that if anything should be reconstructed, that should be it. And frankly, it's concrete from Clara City to I-90, other than from Jasper to Russell. Why wouldn't you, you know, redo it in concrete to match the rest for longevity and, you know,
And as we move forward, we do have to be careful though that with that, when the day comes that is widened and so forth because of the restrictions for coming through town, bypass, I really think a bypass would be just very detrimental to our local economy.
I mean, frankly, at some point it'll probably happen, but it certainly won't be in our lifetime. But I mean, you know, I'm sure if they ever 4-lane, you know, seriously down here, they would bypass.
But would they concrete without 4-laning?
They use that as one of the lanes then if.
Yeah.
Well, right. And of course, the lanes where they're at between here and Russell, they can't really be relocated, you know, to the one side because the railroad in the ditch or the railroad in the river.
Yep.
So, I mean, they're not gonna relocate those lanes no matter what. So why wouldn't you just put it in decent and then, you know,
They made it happen on Highway 60, you know,
right?
with the railroad alongside it also, and through towns and.
Okay. Well, for my report, on the 8th, Prime West with Dan, and you kind of
I think
highlighted,
we pretty well covered all of that. I don't
Yep.
know if we missed anything there from,
no,
other than again, the expansion counties are just really willing and looking forward to coming on board if the whole works.
one of the biggest problems with the expansion counties, this has drug out so long that when we started, you're gonna have a whole new group of commissioners.
They won't understand why they're even there.
Why are we gonna spend this money? So, that's one of the biggest hangouts I see right now.
Yep.
But, as far as Prime West, we're actually growing. Our RBI is going up every month,
Yep.
so.
Well, and didn't I understand Jim to say that really the expansion counties, you know, they've already have voted to join. So it's not like a new group of commissioners would be able to really change that. It would be a major ordeal for them to back out because
But
they've already.
it's something that could happen.
Yeah.
You get a bunch of conservatives in there,
Yeah.
so. Then on 8th, I had 10th, I had Southwest Mental Health in Laverne. And that's kind of a tense meeting. And then on 11th, we had Soil and Water.
Yep. Question on Southwest, I saw the article that Luke had written that rather, they said tense. He was disputing some of the figures that were said to us and said Rock County, and
Yeah, but it's still the bottom line.
still the bottom line.
What, has Nobles decided anything yet?
No, they haven't.
Are they
I
even
think
talking
they're-
or?
Well, the last I heard, their biggest hangup was Unity House. They don't wanna own that alone. So,
But at this point, would they? Or would they own it with what, Jackson and Cottonwood, or how does that work?
you know, Unity House, there's probably, you can take a line, probably go from Appleton over to probably central Minnesota and back down. Unity House pulls from that big a area. When I looked at some of the reports a year ago, I couldn't believe where some of these residents were coming from.
I mean, like, we don't have a stake in that, do we?
Well, other than the loan for the construction of the building.
Right, which of course we can have paid
But
back
when it
next year.
operates at a loss,
Yep.
we cover some of that,
Right,
so.
which is why we're getting out for one
You
of the
guys
many
also
reasons.
read in Luke's response, his rebuttal to Rock County as far as what their what their buyout rate would be, what their equity is. He seemed to dispute what the equity figures are as well.
Theirs is less than ours. I think that theirs is 37,000.
Yeah, I think ours is not much more than that. I want to say
Ours is 39.
39.
Fairly
37.
comparable,
It's
but he was disputing that
it's
equity.
listed in the documentation we have. I mean, that's not a secret. The numbers are there. I mean, it says
So how
exactly what
he's-
the payouts are.
Yeah, so what grounds he's trying to dispute those figures on, I don't know. I thought that his rebuttal to I think it was basically the newspaper.
I think it's probably the terminology. I don't think it's not a buyout.
Yeah,
It's what we have coming out if we decide to leave the organization.
it's our equity.
It's an equity amount, right? So it's not, don't get confused that it's a buyout. That's, we'll pay this to go away.
That's
you know,
right.
And that doesn't work that way. There's that small amount of equity that goes back to, actually when they actually started, it looked like.
Yeah.
Back in
Yeah.
59, 60, and they determined what that was. Really didn't say how the formula was developed to try to figure out what it was from, but.
And obviously he didn't know himself when he thought, when his first
I'm sure
proposal.
when they started it, it was probably the money that the 5 counties put in.
Sure,
To get
Probably
it
something like that, yeah.
because they talked about the $1968,
58.
or $58, yeah.
That's when it was mandated in the state.
But don't you think a lot of it boils down to he's concerned about his position going forward?
Yeah.
But then on the 15th, had plant ops at the hospital. And then on the 17th, Health and Human Services, you kind of highlighted on that. On the 24th, we had an executive board meeting for the radio. That was Zoom. Primarily just talked about some of the things that we'll be putting on the agenda for the September meeting for the full board. On the 25th, had personnel meeting. I guess that was with Chris here. And then on the 29th, building and grounds out at the mental health building,
Yep.
finalizing some of the plans, so.
And Daryl then from Pipestone Building Materials has been very helpful, putting those drawings together for us.
And they should be, they're getting the materials, so, or selling the materials, so.
Any idea when they're gonna start?
The end of this month, hopefully.
Yep, because Mark Griebel had told me that he's got another project he's just started. It should be about a 30-day project, so he still plans on rolling in here this fall and getting started on things, so. And I guess we never did find out, the siding then. Did Lumberyard give us an idea when they can deliver the siding?
No, we still need to get a hold of Greenville, let him know we want to do this particular brand of LP siding,
Yeah,
the diamond coat.
yeah. But that looks like from a scheduling thing, first he has to do is get the windows. You have to get the windows before you can do the siding. Well, and soffits too. So how the window soffits works with the siding, so that all has to piece together, so.
You do all that stuff, and then you start your siding.
Yep, and we don't know for sure what the availability is on those windows, so.
Right.
What the delivery date should be.
What, aren't some of the windows are ordered?
I'm confused
I don't
by
believe
that.
so.
Because Jeremy said that they were ordered, and then the company that was making them, they got hacked, and they didn't pay the ransom, so they lost everything. So I don't know where
It was
they're at.
Anderson, the windows are Anderson windows
Yeah.
we're putting in there, so.
Yep, so where they're actually at as far as even the companies, the entire company's computer system was destroyed. So where they're at even with design,
So in other words, it could be a high possibility we won't even get windows this fall.
but then on the other hand, Jeremy says, oh, no problem. But,
Yeah, depends upon it.
We maybe end up with a different company for windows.
Yeah, get entirely different windows than what we wanted, but,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of good windows out there anymore. Not very many bad ones. And that's the end of my report, and Joyce should be showing up here anytime.
I would think so.
You wanna take a quick break?
sure, we can. Do you have a copy of this in your box as well, too?
Good to go.
We will reconvene and meet with Joyce
Which page number?
on the assessor's budget.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so
Page 32.
Thank you.
a little bit of, maybe some changes here that I gotta bring up. So in my fees, we actually may increase that. The local assessor that was doing Sweet Township and Eden Township passed away. And so I think we could possibly be bringing them on board. I think Sweet for sure is coming forward, but I haven't heard from Eden yet. So that would increase that income by about $5,000.
So 36,000 we'll put there.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So as we go down the salaries, and so my intention is to probably be retiring in the spring, and so my full salary's in there. So we'll be probably looking for a new individual, and you know, we may have some savings there too. But I guess at this point, what do you do until we find someone? So there's a potential there. There is no one in-house that will be moving forward. So we'll be looking for a county assessor.
And is that
To
because
replace
of
me.
level of credentialing or just,
Yeah, they're gonna have to, well, ideally, I would hope we'd find some of the SAMA, that's the best thing, which is the license I have. You can hire a county assessor with an AMA, an accredited Minnesota assessing license, but they do then have a timeline to get their senior accreditation.
Yeah.
I think it's 2 years.
so the people in your department now don't have the desire
They've
to?
chosen not to move forward, yes.
So there won't be another appraiser then, right? Just replacing just the full-time assessor. Is that where we're at?
I think so, and in here is, that's the next thing on the salaries is there is 6 full-time, so we do have that additional trainee coming in, thinking we would be training them moving forward.
Yeah.
So, there may be a need, it's in there, I don't think we would need to fill it maybe at this point, but that's kinda up to, you know, we gotta see what the load, if we keep bringing on townships, we may need that additional one. So,
And Joyce, can you explain to me, so at this point, the townships have the option of doing it with their existing personnel, but as that personnel retires or is no longer involved in it, so we're picking up more workload from the townships?
yes, in this case, the gentleman passed away, and, Sweet reached out to her, so there's a contract between her, the wife of the gentleman that passed away, and they don't have any, she's not accredited, she has no
Right.
experience in it, so ask them to find someone.
I guess I didn't realize that we had townships that were doing it themselves independently. I thought it was all under your office. I
No,
didn't realize that
we
was.
have quite a few locally. They call them local assessors. We have, I think we're doing 10, so 11 are locally assessed. City of Pipestone's been locally assessed forever.
Mm-hmm.
So Pipestone, Jasper, Edgerton has one gentleman. Actually, Tom Houselog, who was the Rock County assessor, picked up, 5 or 6 townships and some small cities. So,
As a contractor.
yes, they independently contract.
So we're good with the salaries we're at now? For what you're
Yeah,
looking
if
at?
anything, we're overstated, I think, a little bit.
How much?
You know, you're looking for
What
money,
can
are
I
you?
what can I take away? Help me out here.
Well, okay, so,
Just a little bit anyway.
so the appraisal, so in my worksheet for salaries,
Okay.
the appraiser trainee probably is the one that we're not gonna be pulling in. That's 46,000 plus then whatever the benefits tally out to be. So, and then.
6,000 plus benefits.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we have that additional income. So my budget's going down. So,
But do we have to prepare ourselves?
exactly.
Well,
Yes. And I'll be honest, the counties that are trying to fill positions are having trouble with their wages the way they are. And I'm not complaining, don't tell, by any means, but it's gonna cost more to get people in this profession.
I do have a solution that I could propose.
What's that?
You just don't retire.
Yeah, well, I think it's time. So, not that I love what I do, don't get me wrong.
Is it possible we could have you here at the same time as the new assessor at the same time too, and we could actually be paying both of you together, so I'm not
I would
so
love to
certain I
have
wanna-
that happen, and we gotta find a way to make that happen. I don't think
concerned
you
about
can-
dropping the salaries, because we don't know what that eventuality is gonna be yet, so
Right. I don't think,
we need continuity.
we can't have two county assessors, I'm almost sure of that, and we can check that with Domain,
Right.
but I just, as an example, exemption is something that only the county assessor and the, tax court can do. You can't have two people doing that, so I don't think it's a possibility, but there's gotta be ways that we can bring them internally in
Yes.
with the understanding they're the next county assessor, so, yeah.
Okay. But for sure, we're not gonna need the appraiser one though, at this point.
Right.
Okay. I'll get with you and we'll do figure out the reductions on that a little bit.
So that would then adjust those insurances, the PERA, the Social Security, Medicare accordingly. And I didn't actually know how, I didn't figure that out, so. Telephone, I did nothing with, just left it the same with the internet charges. Printing, I just bumped it 1,000, just thinking, it's probably gonna cost us more to do that kind of thing. Dues and subscriptions and training, and also the one step down, the meals and lodging, I did reduce because of my retirement. And just that I was, at the time I did this, and maybe we should look at that a little bit, because if, depending on who we get, if we get someone that is AMA or SMA, senior accredited, they're gonna need that training as well, so they'd replace me. But I was thinking that we were going to have someone, I was thinking we were gonna have the trained up person and having a new person start, and they wouldn't be where they needed to be to get training. Does that make sense? They'd be too new to, so that offset that a little bit, but it isn't huge. You could, well, it's like 1,800 on that. Or 1,700 on the subscriptions. So that could change a little bit. It's hard to know. It's kind of a guessing game at this point in time. Office supplies, I left the same. And then the 2,000 is just actually standing desks. That's getting to be more popular. Some of the staff would like to have them. And that's, I think the last one Bill bought for me was $850, so that's 2 more of those, so when that all shakes out, so I have the income going up by about 5,000, and then our expenses coming down. I'm kind of netting out around that 487,616 is kind of where I ended up, Steve, but I know there's some adjustments with the Medicare and all that stuff too, or the withholdings. So I'd actually have about a 9-10% reduction. So instead of the 539, I'd be at about 487. So about 50,000.
It's going in the right direction.
Yeah, it's kind of nice to have to come to you with increases. See, it's a good thing I'm retiring.
Have you had, no, it is not. Have you had any discussions with Kathy yet as far as getting the process started, looking for a replacement for you?
We're gonna meet tomorrow morning, so, and preliminarily, yes, but we need to kind of think about, I suppose she'll be coming to you to get an approval of advertising for that, so.
You don't have any problem with us looking before you retire?
Shit, no,
Okay.
not at all. I search them out. Yeah, no, I think that's fine.
Thank you.
I mean, I don't wanna retire early. Don't kick me out yet.
No, no,
But, yeah,
no, don't wanna do that.
no, I think it's not a bad thing, so. To be looking.
But I understand though that the pool of qualified persons is very, very shallow, so it's gonna be a difficult search.
Yeah, you know, with the law change of where everybody had to have their accredited Minnesota assessor's license, it may broaden the pool for this just because, you wouldn't have had that many. A lot of people were required to get to that level. So you could have a deputy sitting or even a senior appraiser sitting in a county with that license. So, you know, if we get someone with some good experience, I'd say they, you know, so it'll be interesting. That's hopeful thinking, yes, so. That's, any questions other than that?
Hearing none, thank you, Joyce.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
It's always a pleasure to have you come down.
I'll get with Joyce and we'll get those numbers changed on here
Yeah.
for the insurances and all that.
Is there any further business has come before this board?
Move to adjourn, Mr. Chair.
I'll support that. Stan?
What, did I miss something?
I was just wondering if we were gonna do anything on that museum request.
Is it appropriate to do it now, or do we do that when we actually approve the budget itself?
Well, we've done all the other ones ahead of time.
Okay,
That way you know what kind of figure to put in for the
I'll
finals.
just go ahead and pencil it in, and let you know what we got, the bottom line. You're gonna have to adjust the whole, you have to adopt the whole thing anyway, so you can
Right.
change whatever you want, but
Right.
at this time, we'll put the 44 in.
Okay.
That way you get a truer picture of what the ask is.
right.
Okay,
We're still adjourned. Who made the motion?
I did, yep.
Dan. Second,
Dallas,
thank you.
and we stand adjourned.
11:50.
So we got, okay.
We got time for a sandwich, huh?
Barely.
Yep.